T one, I don't know. So I made the video about the inner archetypal conflict between Christ and Satan, or the devil, Lucifer, whatever you call him, but particularly Lucifer in this case. A video yesterday, and you liked it a lot, and someone had asked me what's the meaning of Jesus and Lucifer both being the morning star. Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but first of all, I want to say I'm not a Christian. I don't believe Jesus existed. Well, there's no proof he existed anywhere. And I'm not make these videos. When I mention Jesus in these videos, I'm talking about Jesus as an esoteric concept, as an archetype, as a power force, as an energy, and not as an actual being. This has nothing to do with promoting Christianity or anything like this. It's purely talking in parable and stuff like that. Now, if you're a Christian, good enough, that's your own business, but this is not how I'm approaching it. So when I talk about things like Jesus and Lucifer being the same being, and you're horrified, remember, I'm a pagan, so it's not coming from that world. To me, Jesus is interesting, but the power force of Jesus has become so powerful, and this is why even Hindus have incorporated Jesus. Many Hindus, in fact, if you travel around the Hindu world, you see pictures of Jesus everywhere, next to Krishna and next to Vishnu. They've incorporated the power force, and that's that happens in Hinduism now, and polytheism as well. If you had a situation where, say, we still had paganism in Europe, but Christianity also had existed as they told us, don't be surprised if people who are worshipped, who venerated Odin or Zeus, also venerated Jesus. This is what polytheism is like. Any good archetype is useful. So, like, I get that out of the way. And, so when I talk about this stuff, be aware that I'm not coming from a Christian point of view anymore. Especially, don't be thinking if I'm talking about pagan stuff that have anything to do with Wiccans. By the way, Tina made a great new video on Wiccans. I'll put the link down below. We are the Wiccans, our husbands all left us. We are the Wiccans, we're borderlines too. We are the Wiccans, do no harm to anyone except their ex-husbands. We'll lemon spell them too. We are the witches, our husbands all left us. We are all witches, we're borderlines too. We are the witches, we call ourselves pagans. We are the witches, our god is a Jew. We are the witches, our husbands all left us. We are the witches, we're borderlines too. We are the witches, do no harm we say, but we'll put a fucking another lemon spell upon you. Anyway, these cosplay LARPing pagans really do my fucking head in, I have to, they're the horn, they dress up in Beltane and on other pagan festivals, and they put pictures of themselves on social media as if they think they're real pagans, and it's just LARPing cosplay. That's all that is. And if you look at what they call their paganism, it's either another version of Wiccan or New Age bunk. The fact is that pagans existed in this day and age. They wouldn't be LARPing and dressed up in cosplay. They'd be dressed just like me, you, or anyone else. So that's how you can always tell a phony pagan or a phony druid. Phony druid with a staff. Behold my mighty staff. We are the druids, we are your rapists, we are the druids, and sex offenders too. We are the druids, we claim to be druids, we are the druids, we pray they stay away from you. Anyway, that witches song's good. We are the witches, our husbands all left. I can hear it like medieval song. We are the witches, our husbands all left us. We are the witches, we're borderlines too. We are the witches on HRT patches. We are the witches, we lemon spell you. How the fuck did I get to this? Okay. Oh yeah, it's Tina's video below. That woman has an effect on me. She's a witch. Strega, strega. Anyway, she's not even Italian. Yes, Jesus and Lucifer, Morningstar. Well, yeah, I was came across this a few years ago, and it kind of interested me. I said, "Why is Lucifer and Jesus both the morning star? We are the morning star." Okay, why is Jesus and Lucifer the morning star? Right? Yeah. Well, the first, the first mention of the morning star in the Bible is in the Torah, and the Torah is the first. The Torah makes up the first five books of the Old Testament. So it's and then the Christianity and the Gospels, the Revelations make the rest. St. John's letters and so on make the rest. So you have a situation where, again, a mistranslation. The only version for this, if you go to the Hebrew text, it doesn't say Lucifer, it says a different word, referring to something else. Lucifer doesn't exist in the Hebrew text. Lucifer is a pagan god from Rome, known among the Greeks as Phosphorus. That's where it started, Phosphorus. And the reason why Lucifer appears in the King James Bible was a bad translation by Scottish Presbyterians under the time of King James, the Jacobites. Now, so that's a mistake. Lucifer shouldn't be in the Bible. The Jesus refers to himself as the morning star, and the Messiah is referred to as the morning star in Isaiah as well. So this is, hundreds of years before Jesus. Or no, maybe not even 100 years. I think Isaiah is one of the later books. And, okay, what does it mean, right? Well, the only way I can look on this is from an esoteric point of view, that this thing is taken off. And like Alice Bailey and the Lucifer Society, and the Lucian Trust and Lucifer Magazine, they have some very excellent writings on all these topics, which I read many years ago, and I probably forget most of them. But the gist of what they say within the Lucius Trust and Luciferian, esoteric Luciferianism, is quite interesting, and it stuck with me. So what the gist is, the star card in the tarot, and a woman is washing herself in an aqua nostra, the new waters. In the sky is a really bright star, and then the first bird of the morning begins to sing. This little birdie in the tree, and the birdie is singing. Okay, and some people say it's the first bird of the morning, the dawn chorus. Others say it's the nightingale singing through the night. But what the card represents is that the dark night of the soul is coming to an end, and the star Venus, is the morning star, which is the morning and the evening star, is in the sky, and therefore hope has returned. The darkness has ended. Well, think of like the Jesus story in the same sense, right? There was this Yahweh creature, demon, this psychopathic demon called Yahweh or Jehovah, had placed original sin upon all human beings. And that was the dark night of the soul, and that came to an end, and also the Jews being expelled from Israel. A lot of this comes from like Babylonian neuroses as well. The Jesus represents the end of the dark night of the soul, so he's the morning star. Hope has arrived. I'm here with the aqua nostra. And remember, what did John the Baptist do? He baptized them. So in many ways, the aqua nostra is the baptism of Jesus, and the baptismal waters of the wash away original sin. And the star in the sky, Lucifer, Venus, represents hope. There you go. Now, the Lucifer thing would be the same thing as well. Lucifer is the morning star because he represents hope, enlightenment, an answer to a problem, Lucifer is the man that gives you an answer to a problem. Okay, so that's what the star in the sky means there. So now we're onto a different thing, right? We can actually, you see, the Augustine and all the Augustinians and the early church fathers, and the churches in Antioch, and they had this whole thing of they had to make the Old Testament compatible with the New Testament. they had to show a continuity between the Jesus story that they were cultivating out of various myths, such as, you know, Mithra and Odin and all these other archetypes they'd incorporated into it, particularly Dionysius, very big one. They had to make all these pagan myths dovetail into the Old Testament. But they couldn't frantically just rewrite the Old Testament, because then they would be caught lying, because the Jews still had the Torah. Now, the Jews still having the Torah in its intact, pure state has always been a problem for the church fathers, and this may have been one of the reasons they wanted to exterminate Jews and to, you know, get rid of them, is because, you know, a Christian can say it says in, you know, this book of the book, this says this, and then a Jewish rabbi could jump and say, no, it doesn't. In the Hebrew, it says something completely different. What are you on about? You're making that up. So they had to dovetail it best they could. So therefore they, you know, other than mistakes they made, like the mistranslation of Lucifer, they had to make it sound like it would go in good with this God. So that's why they love the book of Isaiah, because it has so much on the coming of the Messiah. And they even pretended that Jesus quoted Isaiah on the crucifix as he was dying in Hebrew. So this is why the Dead Sea Scrolls are held in such high esteem by Jews and not by Christians. Christians would prefer that the Dead Sea Scrolls were never found, because they basically show that a lot of the Christian Bible is made up bullshit. And there's all this stuff like, oh, when they found the Christian scrolls and when they found the Nag Hammadi text, they found proof of Jesus in these. No, there's no proof. There's no mention of Jesus or anyone connected to Jesus inside those texts. That's a complete made up thing. The Nag Hammadi texts are gospel texts from a post-Christian age they're extremely important. And also, there's only a few fragments left, and they talk about like the Essenes and the esoteric schools that flourished in Israel post the sacking of the temple. I think it was AD 60, I think. Don't quote me on that. So that's the big issue. So the Christians kind of created a new form of Western esoteric mystery when they invented Jesus. And that's why they incorporated, well, they talk about the divine mysteries or the sacred mysteries, and the ancient mystery schools of Greece and Rome are incorporated into the New Testament. So therefore, you have a situation where Jesus and Lucifer and the morning star, it may seem very contradictory to Christians, and you can find no Christian who can explain it in a satisfactory way like I'm explaining it here. But the way I'm explaining it is in the Western mystery tradition, as Neil MacDonald calls it, or Western occultism. It's a resolution of the dark night of the soul by the rising of the first star, Lucifer, representing the darkness has entered, and either hope has come or a new solution has come. So that's what that's all about. That's what that's about. It's not a black and white thing. Again, I don't know what you Christians believe about this stuff. To me, it doesn't exist. It's just purely stories. But it's an intriguing one all the same, and it's a good one for sparkling conversation. We are the witches, our husbands all left us. We are the witches on HRT2. We are the witches, we call ourselves pagans, but like the Catholics, our God is a Jew. Take care of yourselves.